It's so bad. It
Yeah.
was a startup last year, and it's like my tight end room is absolute hamburger dog shit, man. It's bad. Uh,
Yeah, I might go Bowers then. I mean, I know you need holes everywhere, but you don't get a chance at generational tight ends very often, you know?
yeah,
Like,
I'd be
whereas,
cool like if the Trey McBride owner wanted to give me the Trade McBride for the 1-3 and like a second or something.
yeah.
I
Oh,
would I
yeah.
would I think I'd float that, but then again, I don't think McBride's worth the 1-3, so who
Probably not.
knows,
You
dude?
might be able to get McBride and like their
Like a
first if
later
it's a
first.
late first. Yeah, just move
Yeah,
back.
that's what I was thinking about doing. I was gonna get in there and pepper. I don't know any of these fucking guys, so
Yeah.
just gonna pepper him.
People are already, there's like a weird contingent of people already sleeping on McBride, even though he crushed it last year, which doesn't make sense to me.
Good for them. That's perfect, dude.
Mm. Good for everybody
Fucking
else.
yeah. What is a John Mackey Award winner ever done?
Yeah.
I actually don't know. I don't really keep track of them. They're not like my dope boys.
Not the dope boys.
The dope
Them dope boys
boys.
are at it again.
I took a lease out on your heart. I took a lease out on your heart. Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun? Can I at least have fun?
Welcome back, everybody. We are Rough Draft Research. You are the audience, and together we are on a quest for Dynasty Domination. How's it going over there, Daniel?
It's going great over here, man. It
Good.
is like T minus crunch time. People are starting to paint names
Mhm.
into places and places into names. But what about you, Christian? We knocked out a trade before this, so
We did. We did. It was a fun trade. For anyone interested, we were in a IDP league, IDP Dynasty. I gave old Daniel here the Stefan Diggs, the 1-5, and Cole Kmet to move up
nice.
to the 1-3 and get a third as well. So I feel a little bit of an overpay for me, but when you want to get something done, you got to pay sometimes. And I wanted to secure the 2-2 or the 1-2 and the 1-3 so that I could get two of these bad receivers right off the board. So
Hell yeah, man. It's still fun. It's my first trade in that league. So taking on an orphan team and we'll see how far we can make it.
I think you'll be all right. I'm having fun, man. I got the itch today. I tried to send out trades in like every league.
That's awesome.
It's one of those days. But that's not what we're here to talk about because it's the Sweet 16, baby. We are
Sweet.
here, two matchups apiece for each division to knock it down to the eight best rookie picks for the 2024 Dynasty Draft. So you guys have been waiting for it. I'm putting it out on, or we put it out on Twitter. If you filled it out, please send it to us. We'd love to see it. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So we're gonna start on the top left side of the bracket and do the West Division. So that leads us to our first matchup. It is the number one seed in wide receiver Rome Odunze out of Washington, going up against the 4 seed in Bo Nix, quarterback out of Oregon. Um, this one's Rome Odunze, right?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm like
Yeah.
kind of surprised Bo Nix made it this far, but
You
gotta
know,
do
I,
what you gotta do.
I was too, but to be honest, man, Bo Nix's decision making is going to get him a job at least for a while in the NFL. Like he just the 45-3 touchdown to interception ratio.
Yeah.
He only had eight turnover eight turnover worthy plays in 2022 and only five in 2023. He had a lot more in Auburn before he came to Oregon, but I don't know. He literally had 13 at Oregon and he had 44 at Auburn. So maybe it's a bit
Wow.
of a like coaching staff thing, but man, like he just he always knew when to tuck and run. He didn't throw picks and he only threw the ball away 8 times. So you're talking about a guy who didn't turn the ball over, but he also didn't throw the ball away. Like it was either going to somebody or he was running. So I think that is, that's going to get him a job for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of surprised that he's not having like some first round buzz. Just watching
Hmm.
and seeing what he's done. I mean, the 20 touchdowns on the ground over the past 2 years at Oregon. It's you can kind of paint a picture of a almost a dual threat or like a serviceable, a mobile quarterback.
Hmm.
And I mean, he has a really strong arm, which was cool to see, but
Hmm.
I really liked the touch. He had like a nice touch and ball placement, and I especially liked it in the red zone.
Hmm.
Like he had a graceful way of like placing the ball right where the receiver could get it, and it gave him a catchable advantage, like boxing out the defender with his placement. It was pretty
Hmm.
cool. Um, but yeah, not all of his passes were awesome, dude. I thought I saw some hesitation.
Hmm.
He put himself in some bad spots by like missing good opportunities. But one thing I saw that kind of made me hesitate on getting too excited about him as a sleeper or whatever was he had a lot of throws where he put his guys in kind of bad situations instead
Hmm.
of hitting them in stride. He
Okay.
kind of put him as like sitting ducks,
Hmm.
a Oregon joke if you get with me. And a lot of times I did see him like he would make a good read on a nice downfield play, but then like wouldn't trust himself or something,
Hmm.
and then he'd hit a check down. So I saw enough of that to be like, okay, maybe this is why. But I feel like one of those. There's enough teams that could use a guy like this, Denver, Las Vegas, whatever,
Hmm.
that he could still easily be, just as wonderful as the rest of these quarterbacks if things work out for him. So
Yeah, I think if he fits in it falls to the right system. I don't know how much I believe personally in Sean Payton anymore, but honestly, something like that, where because he is kind of a first read quarterback, which is something Sean Payton does really well, scheming up people to be open and then just taking advantage of the defense. And that is kind of what Bo Nix does. I don't think he falls apart in the sense that he makes bad decisions when his first read's not there, but his like mechanics go funky and his throws become less precise. I think that's when you see him miss a lot. I do think the rushing ability helps offset that issue, and his rushing ability is super underrated. 500 yards this season on 14 touchdowns on the ground. Or sorry, that was in
right.
2022, but 38 total touchdowns rushing throughout college, which is pretty impressive for a guy who's, you know, not really known necessarily for that. But yeah, I like the Broncos buzz. You never know. I don't know necessarily that they go for it in the first round or anything like that, but if they do, obviously they really like him. I think he processes really well. Let's see if that will live up to the, NFL standard once it's a little faster. But I'm with you. It's weird that it seems like he's kind of fallen off, and Penix is getting a lot of hype, and not so much Bo Nix. Which I mean, Penix is great too. So this is just a spicy class,
It's fun.
but but yeah, not enough for him to kind of beat Rome Odunze. So we got the one seed, Rome Odunze, making it to the Elite Eight, and Bo Nix, the four seed, staying behind. So our final Sweet 16 matchup for the west side of the bracket, we've got our 11 seed running back out of USC, MarShawn Lloyd, going up against the one seed also out of USC, but it's Caleb Williams. And sorry, he's the two seed. I did this all last episode. I kept calling him the one seed. He's not the one seed. He's the two seed. Rome Odunze is the one seed. So the
Damn
two
right he is.
seed, Caleb Williams, is who Marshawn Lloyd, the 11 seed, is going up against. How'd you go here?
I had to go with Caleb Williams
Mm,
um, on principle,
hmm.
but it was hard because in my heart, damn, it's tough, man. I really liked Marshawn Lloyd.
Hmm.
Um, his run style was just so cool. It was like he'd take like two plotting steps and then attack,
Hmm.
and it was really good vision and decision makings. And he possessed such an explosive energy that he didn't necessarily need to hit a hole at full speed. He could make those decisions and hesitate slightly, and then he still had enough power and enough burst to just jump out of the backfield and drop the hammer, man. And I don't know, man. Obviously, the jukes were out of the world.
Hmm.
Elusivity is 177 on that. Like, what is that a real number? Did I type that wrong? Clearly, I mean, easily best in this bracket. And it all added up to the breakaway percentage on the yards being 56.7. Like that's insane. His attempts were low, but he made the most of them with the 7.1 yards per attempt. And I think I've seen enough of the Caleb Williams defenders talking about how bad this offense and how bad the
Mhm.
offensive line was, trying to make up for a soft 2023 season. But it didn't really hurt Lloyd at all. So
Mhm.
I don't know, man. He had 3 fumbles in 2023, and I started out watching the Utah game where he had,
Mhm.
like, 2 of those fumbles in that game, and I was like, "Oh, shit," but then, you keep watching and you get it. He's a little different,
Mhm.
but he's kind of pretty incredible. I don't know, how do you feel? You didn't have him beating Caleb, did you?
No, I
Oh
didn't.
my
I agree with everything you said. I think Lloyd only has like two pretty glaring issues, and I don't think they're that big a deal. One you brought up already is the fumbles. He had three this season, which isn't crazy, like you said, two in one game, but he also had eight fumbles throughout college, but only on a 289 carries, which is a fumble every 36 carries, which isn't
ouch.
that's not a great
No.
number.
Uh-uh.
But I don't think that that's something that he can't get past. It's not gonna keep him back. And I do think he could improve as a pass blocker. He is one of the bottom ranked pass blockers in
Oh,
this tournament.
atrocious.
Yeah, atrociously bad. So I think he can improve in that to stay on the field more. But everything with his rushing ability, I'm with you 100%. I think he has an unnatural ability to kind of avoid tacklers and bounce outside. The touchdown run against Colorado where he did that was nuts. He kind of like went one way and then backed up the other way and then came back and then scored the touchdown. It's just he's awesome. You can't really take him down by the legs. He's just going to run through you. I don't like I'm saying like you said, it's quick decisions, no hesitation, a couple little steps to gain the vision and then bang, go hit the hole and he just eats up yardage. If you give this man an O line, I think he's going to feast in the NFL. But the reason he loses because all right, so Caleb Williams is getting a lot of like Aaron Rodgers comps. I like that more than the Patrick Mahomes comps that he's getting that I've
True.
heard. I think it makes a lot more sense. The ability to throw off platform, the ability to throw on the run, create after the play, all of that is there. And, he can throw it wherever on the field, just like Rodgers. So let's say like he hits that upside, and this is why Marshawn Lloyd loses because if he hits that upside, Aaron Rodgers has been a top 10 QB four times in his career. He's been a top five QB four times in his career, and he's been the QB1 four times in his career. And those don't stack. So you're talking about 12 years where you're at least in the top 10 for a QB, if not higher. And that's with injuries and stuff. So if Caleb Williams reaches that potential, then he's more valuable than a Marshawn Lloyd who may end up being an RB1, may not. This is a weaker RB class. I will pound the table over and over and over again. It's these four guys
Of
Brooks,
course.
Wright, Benson, Lloyd. Those are the four that I think can for sure be RB1s, but not necessarily knowing it's going to happen. So to me, you have to go with the upside of the potential like top five perennial QB here.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about what Caleb Williams is, so we're just gonna yeah, give him the W,
Just
man.
have to. All right. So we've got the number two seed in Caleb Williams moving on, leaving the
Uh,
11 seed Marshawn Lloyd behind. Good showing, Marshawn Lloyd making it all the way. So there you
oh, yeah.
have it. Our representative in the Elite Eight for the West bracket are gonna be Rome Odunze and Caleb Williams. So moving on to the Midwest bracket, we've got our first matchup. We got the number one seed wide receiver Marvin Harrison Jr. out of Ohio State going up against the 13 seed Isaac Guerendo running back out of Louisville. So this Guerendo shouldn't have probably made it here.
How's he still in this shit, man?
Yeah, like this is a no contest. Hats off to Guerendo for making it here.
Yeah.
It was matchups, he's spicy, but he's
No.
a developmental guy with explosive traits. He's a super athlete at the position. somebody's going to take a chance on him. He could end up being like the best handcuff type guy. You always hear that award trying to be run around, but he does have crazy size, speed combo, 4.33 or 4.3 at 221 pounds. That's
Yeah.
awesome. But he's also in the bottom five for forced missed tackles for the tournament, also in the bottom five for attempts, though. So you have to keep that into account. He's fourth in yards after contact per attempt, which is good, but he's also older and he sat for 4 years behind Braylon Allen, which isn't
Hmm.
a good sign. I know some people are a lot higher on Braylon Allen than I am particularly. And one season still splitting carries of over 100 carries, that's not great or something I want to hear. There might be something here, but he needs time to develop it. And I don't know that he has all that much time. I mean, he's almost 24 and he's likely going to start out rotational. So I don't know. I like him and I like the upside. I'm cool with taking like a later round pick as a flyer on him, but like there's no chance here.
No, I mean, definitely getting rolled by Marvin Harrison. But like you're saying, man, like he had the fifth best receiving grade for the running backs in this tournament. So there's
Mhm.
enough of a spark, and his open field ability is kind of cool, and he does use his size well, and he can power through contact, but not getting the workload. I mean, you're not getting the workload. So I
Mhm.
don't think I'm taking the bait on this, but I feel like I'm anticipating like some future chagrin on this. Like I'm just gonna
Mhm.
be like, well, we we all probably should have seen this coming yet
Yeah.
again. So I think it speaks well that he's made it to the Sweet 16 because he definitely earned it with that showing at the
Oh
combine.
yeah.
But
Mhm.
he's gonna be one of those guys where like, man, if you don't like what you see on the board and it's the late second or something, like, hey man, why
Yeah, why
not?
not?
Fuck around. I mean, it's there's I don't know, they're like shades of Antonio Gibson in here
Yeah.
somewhere.
Mhm.
So there's potential for it to mean something.
Oh, big time. Yeah. He was definitely one of the biggest surprises coming out of the combine, and that has kind of earned him stock and is going to get him a decent little draft bump. And we'll see where he goes and where he fits in. But unfortunately for him, he does not have enough juice to beat Marvin Harrison Jr. So Marvin
Hell
Harrison,
no.
the one seed, moving on, and Isaac Guerendo staying put. So we have another Sweet 16 team on team matchup with
Oof.
JJ McCarthy, quarterback out of Michigan, the 3 seed, going up against Roman Wilson, the number 2 seed, wide receiver out of Michigan. You know what's funny about
Mm,
this? I sat
no.
down to watch Roman Wilson tape, and my very first thought was, I don't understand why people hate JJ McCarthy so much. I,
Yeah, well, you can't separate the two, can you?
No, you can't. I mean, so I'm sitting there watching it, and for the record, I picked Roman Wilson here. I don't think JJ McCarthy is. I don't send him farther in this tournament. I think I get his ceiling is what it is, but I don't know. Like, I just think he's good. Like, let's. I don't understand what people have such an issue with him for. Like if you're watching the game against Indiana, right? Okay. So he's sitting there. We're in like the third-ish quarter. He immediately senses the pocket's going to break down as soon as a play starts. He takes off running to the right, directs the wide receiver to take up field behind the coverage, floats a ball right over to him, 55-yard touchdown. I what exactly is so bad about that? Like, okay, he doesn't throw as much, and maybe in the increased workload,
Ah,
it's
oh,
not.
wait, time out. Are you saying that McCarthy wins this matchup?
No, I said right at the stop that Roman Wilson won.
He
I'm just
won.
saying,
Okay.
I
I
don't
was okay. I
understand
just
the
wanted to
issue.
circle
Like,
back.
I don't
Yeah.
understand the issue with McCarthy. Like, that is exactly what you want your quarterback to be able to think about and do on the fly. Well, like, what is such the problem with him? I don't understand it. He's got good size, good instincts, winning pedigree. Like, fine, he's never going to be the QB1. Okay, fine. But he can't consistently be a top 12 to 15 guy, in the right spot. I love Roman Wilson, his acceleration, his speed, that's how he separates. I'm not in the playbook, but to me, it does look like he like runs slightly different routes to like run away from the coverage and get open. And I think he's incredible. And so yeah, I send Roman Wilson above here in fantasy. He's got the higher upside. Absolutely. But to me, I don't know, man. I'll leave it on this. Like, I think McCarthy's aggressive when he needs to be. He moves in the pocket well, he escapes well, and he can always throw in the run, and he does it well. Another play that's very similar to the Indiana one I'm talking about, like on Nebraska, guy comes up in his face, he rolls out to the left, running like one of those midair, like halfway running, halfway jumping throws. On the all 22 behind the shot, you can't even see Roman Wilson screaming across the end zone when he lets go of the ball, and it just right to him in the back of the end zone. Like, I don't get the hate on him. I just don't get it.
Okay. Well, I don't hate him, man. I actually had him win in this matchup.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, for sure. So, um, no, but for all the reasons you're saying, the one thing that I think is being overlooked when you have these, crazy guys, you
Hmm.
Caleb Williams and your Jayden Daniels, like these guys are insane.
Hmm.
They're more um tickling your imagination or like enticing you with delusions or fantasies of like what could be, um that you forget to look at, like a guy with the extremely high floor,
Hmm.
which is what you get out of JJ McCarthy. And I think that, sometimes you forget that getting the ball to playmakers is their only real job.
Hmm.
And he 100% can do that. He's locked in. um he he gives me I had a long conversation about Brock Purdy recently, with an old friend, Mike,
Hmm.
Mike.
Hmm.
And his whole thing was like, he just puts the ball like where the wide receiver can catch it. And I mean, it sounds stupid, but like he just does it every single play.
Yeah.
And when you watch JJ McCarthy, like, yes, you put him on a team with weapons and he's going to deliver a successful ball to them. He's going to hit them in a place where they can make a play after the catch, not
Hmm.
just catch the ball and have to go down, a la Bo Nix half the
Hmm.
time.
Yeah.
Um, so I think, yeah, and he's going to be extremely coachable, and he's going to have one of those weird energies.
Yeah.
There was like the Mayfield energy, and then there's the Burrow
Hmm.
swag, and it's like you can just see it coming.
Yeah. Big
The don't
time.
sleep on JJ thing coming
Yeah.
out. So um, it's going to be exciting, especially if he can make it to Minnesota. I mean, it'd
Hmm.
be a lot better than if New England gets crazy with it and goes there. But shit, okay, yeah, I thought he was going to win this one.
Well, I mean, we could talk about it because to me, this was extremely close. I thought I was going to have to fight you to even put him in the same conversation. I thought you were lower on McCarthy than you obviously are. So I'm down to
No,
move
I just
JJ if
don't.
that's what you want to do.
Yeah, I don't
I
like his persona, but
Oh, okay.
I like his football.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah. So I think if he's on a Viking, he's like, or if he's on the Vikings, he's like a target for me in fantasy drafts for sure. I do think Roman Wilson has kind of gotten lost a little bit in the shuffle of these slot receivers, but I still think his game is incredible. Ricky Parasol is getting a lot of pop right now. We've been popping Malik Washington, Malachi Corley, Lad McConkey's going off, but Roman Wilson's this consistent presence that can do a lot of what these other guys do. And he's like this short, compact little muscle, kind of like I don't know, those little, what did they call Maurice Jones-Drew, the muscle hamster or whatever? Like not quite
Muscle
to
hamster, was
the
that Doug Martin?
that was Doug Martin. Okay, that's what it was. So not quite to that level necessarily, but he has some similar traits, and I really do like him. But I'm fine if you want to send McCarthy. I can side with you, whatever you want to do.
No, no, no. I love Roman Wilson, man. That was the
Okay.
first guy I picked up when we did the Senior Bowl preview because I was into him. So I'm
Okay.
glad. Save it for another day, man. Poor dude's got to go up against Marvin Harrison
Oh
Jr., but
yeah, so I guess it really don't
whatever.
matter.
So
All right, well then we've got the number 2 seed Roman Wilson moving on while JJ McCarthy stays in the Sweet 16. So our representatives from the Midwest for the Elite Eight are Marvin Harrison Jr. and Roman Wilson. So moving on to the Atlantic bracket, we've got the number 1 seed in Brock Bowers going tight end out of Georgia going up against RDR Love, the number 12 seed Malik Washington, wide receiver out of Virginia, who has upset a lot of people in this tournament. Does he do it again?
Hell no, no,
Yeah, no. It had to end
not
somewhere.
even. Good job. Yeah, I love him. I
Hmm.
love him,
Oh
man.
yeah.
Dude, really just pure insanity with Malik Washington.
Hmm.
I got to tell you, 5 games with the double-digit catches, like that's insane.
Hmm.
So it was his first year with Virginia this year,
Yeah.
and he just like limps in. First game was kind of slow start, and then never had another game under 97 receiving yards. And he left it all on the field, man. I'm telling you, I saw some things that I've always wanted to see from football players watching this guy's tape. And one catch in particular was against Louisville, where Washington had a throw that was like a few inches beyond
Hmm.
his reach. And I see it all the time, and I'm like, why didn't you dive for it, man? Like
Hmm.
you could have laid out and caught
Hmm.
that pass. And
Yeah, yeah.
you always see that. It's frustrating. Dude did it. He laid out. He caught that pass. I'm like, oh hell yeah, I'm in on this guy. I'm telling you, he just beat Keon Coleman, who has like these weird, intangibles or whatever. People are getting pretty pumped. It's hard to compare these two when you got a slot receiver beating a guy that could be like a red zone
Hmm.
phenom. He's got some juice. So I'm all about him, man. He hit things hard and crisp and on the
Hmm.
field, and it's insane to me that he jumped in this Washington offense and in his first year he had more receiving yards than the entire team's rushing efforts.
Hmm.
So, I mean, we got to say 1,384 receiving
Yep.
yards, 9 touchdowns. The number 2 wide receiver on that team was 600 yards behind him. And the third guy was 1,250 yards
Jesus.
behind him. Like he was just everything for these guys. And
Hmm.
in 2022, he led Northwestern in receiving yards before transferring. So I don't know, man. He's an animal.
Oh yeah, he's absolutely incredible. Always seems to be finding a way to move upfield and get extra yardage, constantly moving, shifting just enough to avoid the next tackle. And like you're saying, moving out of Northwestern helped him out. He went from 65 catches last season to 111, 701 yards to 1384, and 1 touchdown to 9 touchdowns. So got him in an offense that wanted to use him as a dominator, and he dominated. He also, I think he's a really good route runner. He can stop on a dime. And he's versatile, man. He leads this entire tournament in yards after the catch. We've talked about that a few times, which highlights his elusiveness, but also the versatility in the screen game. He's able to make some people miss and use those blockers to kind of take advantage of those plays, and you can use him all over the field. And, he's short and he's got shorter arms, but he also had a 42.5-inch vertical. So like it's not like he can't jump up there and go get it. And he's aggressive. He's a football player, man. He's one of those, he's not scared to go up there and take the ball from somebody. 35 forced missed tackles in the receiving game. That's more than Malik Nabers. It's more than
Yeah.
anybody in the tournament. He also has the second highest catch rate in the tournament at 80%, only 3 drops this season, a career drop rate of only 2.5%. Like Slice is an obvious issue. Run blocking's kind of an issue. It's probably going to take him off the side, off the field a little bit. But it's not even like he doesn't try hard to block. He's just a littler guy. Sometimes it's hard, especially when those guys with like longer arms come up against him. It's a little difficult for him. But man, yeah, he's just a player, and I think he's going to be one of the steals of this draft.
Oh, for sure, man. And I don't think there's enough dynasty buzz about him.
Mm-mm.
So
Yeah, it's
hopefully league mates aren't watching this shit right now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, let's keep him quiet for now. But for now, we've got the number 1 seed in Brock Bowers moving on, and 12 seed after a valiant upsetting effort, finally falls in the Sweet 16. So our next matchups, last matchup in the Atlantic bracket, we got the 11 seed in Trey Benson, running back out of Florida State, going up against the 2 seed in Drake Maye, quarterback out of North Carolina. And I think it's at this moment that it becomes really important to reiterate that this is not a super flex podcast.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It is important to say that out loud, after we've already made our decisions, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Um, because yeah, Drake May takes the L, right? I
Yeah,
mean,
I
Trey
think so.
Benson, baby,
Hmm.
for all the reasons, but I'll let you get into this.
Yeah, for sure. So, Like I've been saying over and over and over again, Benson, there's four guys that can be an RB1. I think if you need an RB, you have to try to get one of these four guys, and Benson is one of them. He has the size, power, and evidently the speed after the combine to be just deadly in the NFL. I don't think he has the best vision because he relies on those athletic traits to kind of get him and win outside. For instance, 513 of his yards were either in the C gap or out wide of the offensive line this year, compared to 393 that were through the middle of the line. Like he just kind of always does that. To me, he's like the anti-Corum, where Corum is like just this such a heady running back and just knows how to read blocking and does all the right cuts, all the right moves all the time. Benson doesn't really do that, but he's just so athletic and freaky that he can just dominate sometimes. Because he's middle in the road in like all the typical like RB stats we look at, missed tackles forced, middle of the road, yards after contact per attempt, middle of the road, yards per attempt, middle of the road, elusivity rating, but he's top tier in breakaway percentage, second for the whole tournament, and he's first in protecting the ball. He didn't have a single fumble this year, and
Yeah.
hasn't really had any throughout college. I think he's a little more raw of a prospect than some of these other RB guys, particularly Brooks and Jalen Wright, in my opinion.
Brooks.
But I think he could excel given the time, and he's younger, if I'm not yet. Yeah, almost 22, so still younger. And he's gonna get chances. Whereas Drake Maye, I think he throws a beautiful spiral. He's one of those people that like you can see why people fall in love with him because he has these really, really, really nice passes. And I think that's what like makes his tape pop a lot. He has these big time throws all the time. And so big time throws, according to PFF, are a pass with excellent location and timing, generally further down the field in tight windows. He led the entire class in big time throws this season with 35. But I just feel like he's a little inconsistent compared to
Oh,
those other guys
for
because like
sure.
he does that, but then he's 15th in the class for completion percentage. Not even like of college, no, 15th in the class in completion percentage. And then you're like, well, North Carolina didn't have that many playmakers, yada yada yada. Okay, well, he's ninth and adjusted. So it's not like he went up that high, So to me, it's just like North Carolina wasn't a great team and he had to make up for that. And I see the traits and people, and he has this unique rushing ability. He's a bigger guy, and people want to say the upside is Josh Allen, but the downside is fancy Daniel Jones.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Don't say that. Come on,
Like,
man. Don't put that on this guy.
I'm just saying, man. I think he's got these traits, but I don't think he's like this slam dunk prospect that I feel
Yeah.
like was talked about to us before this class.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, dude. Yeah, you're still in my words. I said he's not a locked-in badass by any means, but
Mm.
he's definitely got to get a starting job in the
Oh yeah.
NFL.
hmm
So he could easily succeed, but I don't really know because consistency is a huge issue.
hmm
I also thought decision making and hesitation were big question marks on this one. I started out watching the Minnesota game,
Mm.
which is, I believe, it was their first game of the year.
hmm
And after like the first couple possessions, I was like, I need to check the jersey on this because he looked
hmm
like Sam Howell with like a half a read and a quarter of a pump fake before he took
hmm
off running. And he finally calmed down, I guess, as the season went on because the film started to get better. But then I keep thinking, man, like, who are these guys like Tez Walker, Josh Downs, and like some of their best traits are being like adjusting to balls that weren't that accurate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Their ball tracking skills are some of my favorite traits about both of those wide receivers. So it speaks to a little bit of his game, but when he's on the tight windows, the nice
hmm
stride that he hits the guys in. It's like it's really, really good.
hmm
But like, man, from the premature scrambles to the inconsistent tosses, it's like, okay, it's his guy's a bit of a project. So I don't know. I don't know where the huge gap between him and like Bo
Jayden.
Nix
Oh
and
yeah, exactly. Or JJ McCarthy, for instance.
yeah,
Like
exactly.
I
Right.
don't
How is
understand.
he
How's
the
he's
potential for him to go number two doesn't really exist to me.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. He doesn't have the upside that like a Jayden Daniels has, and Jayden Daniels has his own issues, but like
For real.
I don't
Yeah.
know, but especially like I'm sorry if Drake Maye is a New England Patriot, you can
Oof,
count me out. I
boy.
don't want any shares. I'm good. I'm
Pack my
good on that.
bags.
You
Put me
know,
on the
like
bus.
all power or more power to the Patriots and for Drake May, I hope it works out. Obviously, I want everybody to succeed. It's more fun that way, but like that's just something I'm not super interested in.
Everyone except for Keon Coleman. You know, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
well, I'm okay with being wrong, but
Nah, it's all good.
all right, well, so we've got the 11 seed Trey Benson moving on and leaving the 2 seed Drake May. So there's our biggest upset of the Sweet 16 right there. So our two representatives from the Atlantic bracket are Brock Bowers and Trey Benson. So moving on to our final section of the Sweet 16, we've got our southern portion of the Patrick of the bracket.
Whoa.
And we've got the number 1 seed, Jayden Daniels, quarterback out of LSU, going up against the number 4 seed, Jonathon Brooks, running back out of Texas.
Yes.
Toughest matchup of the
So
tournament?
toughest. Yeah. I mean, I guess the JJ and Roman thing was pretty tough
I
for
guess that
some
was
of
we were
us.
split.
My God. But this one, like, I don't know. I was like, yeah, I think Daniels loses. And then I'm like, no, no, I don't know. I'm watching the Daniels film to kind of write this up. And I'm like,
Mhm.
damn, I don't know if he loses. And then I started watching the Jonathan Brooks film to write up his losing statement. And I'm like, this guy is winning. This guy
Mhm.
wins. He
Yep.
wins. So, yeah, sorry, Jaden. This is not a super flex podcast.
It's not. And
I have
I'm
to
but
say that a few times here.
I'm 100% with you. But this was the toughest matchup. I think these guys have tremendous upside, but it really came down to me, and I don't know how it came down to for you, but Jonathan Brooks, obviously, if he's not injured, he's probably the RB1. I'm already seeing reports that he's going to be healthy, so that's great. I think he's the most natural kind of runner. Like everything, like you remember when you called Chris Olave Mr. Smooth?
Yes.
It's like that, but for running backs is
Mr.
what Jonathan
Smooth.
Brooks is. Like everything he does just looks super nice. It doesn't look like it takes a lot of effort. He has all these shifty, like just 1, 2 step moves, and he just leaves people in the dust. 63 missed tackles forced, seventh in the tournament, and 13 added in the passing game. So he's third. I think he's the most natural receiver, maybe out of all the running backs. I mean, Bucky Irving and then like Lave's ridiculousness
They
over
don't
there,
count.
but yeah, exactly. That don't count. Jonathan Brooks had the third highest receiving grade among running backs and only behind Guerendo, who didn't catch a lot, and then Lave, whose absurd grade of 90.5 just doesn't really compute.
Nah.
So what it came down to for me is like that's oh my gosh, okay, here we got this upside. Jayden Daniels has this upside. Jayden Daniels also has this super legit chance that he's going to get hurt with his play style. Like he just is very reckless. He's not a bad
Hmm.
decision maker throwing the ball, but his play style, the way he runs, he dives head first into people like he's 240 pounds, and he's not. And so, I mean, when we're splitting hairs, we're splitting hairs. Both these guys, I think, are first round picks, but I guess I'm going with the like RB1 upside for the whole class and then like the mitigating the risk here of Jayden Daniels.
Yep. Yeah, I'm with you on that, man. I mean, for Daniels, I just thought like we know what it is, right? It's kind of tough to sum him up.
Hmm.
As far as why Jonathan Brooks wins for me, it was the way that he just stumbled forward for like 3 or 8 yards every time someone
Hmm.
didn't wrap him up. Like that was just obviously everything you say about like he's it's like he's driving a sports car
Hmm.
in on the freeway, just like
Yeah.
changing lanes and driving around people. It's crazy. But um for Daniels, I mean we gotta pay some respect to the
Oh yeah.
man, I just find it so difficult to sum it up in words with him because he's so unique. Um, but I think an easy way to do it is just put out there like he had 1,100 rushing yards or 1,250 if you don't count sack yards. I don't know who these people are, and 10 touchdowns. So that rivals some of his top running backs in this class.
Yeah.
And for him to do that as well as the elite techniques he has as a passer. His deep ball alone is probably first round draft worthy. But when you combine that with actual proven success of the dual threat, it's insane. I mean, Heisman, whatever, you know how it is. Um, I don't know. I think he's kind of unheard of. The only thing that really holds him back is what you mentioned. Like all he has to do is not get crushed like a seltzer can, which is what
Mhm.
his physique resembles.
Mhm.
So I don't know. And then you can always say that he had, a pair of first round caliber wide receivers in house trying to
Mhm.
make, his life easy. But at the same flip side, you could tell
He
me
made
that
their life easy.
he could unlock an offense, no
Mhm.
problem in the NFL if he can stay upright. So um, it's tough not putting him in the Elite Eight, but that's just the path that he went down here. I got to tell you, yes, we have a running back bias, and yes, this is our podcast, so we can do whatever the hell we want to do. So
Exactly. Yeah. No, and just to kind of speak a little bit more on the Jayden Daniels rushing, absolutely electric, like you're saying, and that dual threat ability has tremendous, tremendous upside, crazy, crazy upside if he can keep it. But that's what it is, like Kyler Murray is safe when he runs. Lamar is safe when he runs for the most part. We saw it with Anthony Richardson already
uh-huh.
took his rookie season away from him, and he's 244 pounds. Jayden Daniels did weigh in a little bit better at the combine than I think some people are expecting, 210 pounds. So it's not horrible, but literally there's a montage online you can find of him taking just ridiculous shots from defenders. And it's literally, it looks so right. Somebody put the like Sonic coins bashing out of him every time he gets
That's funny.
hit in this video. And it just makes so much sense. He just gets cracked all the time. And when the level goes up in the NFL, how many times can he handle that? Like how many awesome seasons are going to get derailed because his body can't keep up? Hopefully
Oof.
none.
0, yeah.
That's what I'm hoping
It's
for
gonna it's
because
gonna be
this guy
higher
in
than
the
that.
league, it's going to be higher than that. Exactly. And that's the problem. Whereas Brooks already coming in with an issue, the ACLs and stuff are not as big of a deal coming out of college as they used to be. So I think Brooks takes it here, but I'm with you. It feels weird not to put Jayden Daniels in the Elite Eight. If it's a super flex podcast, he's obviously in there, but it's not. So we've got the 4 seed Jonathon Brooks moving on to the Elite Eight, and the 1 seed Jayden Daniels falling. I think he's the only 1 seed that didn't make it, which is a little almost even worse
Mm.
for
But he
not
lost to a
getting it.
4 seed,
But he did
so
lose to a 4 seed. That's true. So,
yeah.
all right. Let's talk about a couple of his teammates to wrap up the
Ugh.
Sweet 16. We've got one final team on team matchup. We've got LSU wide receiver 3 seed Brian Thomas Jr. going up against also LSU wide receiver number 2 seed Malik Nabers. The
This
neighbors think
one.
I'm selling dope, man.
Hey yo, good lord. What it,
Neighbors
what did
is
you
just
say
he's
earlier?
so good. Oh, when in
Ro-
Rome, uh well, I
Love
lost
thy
it. There
neighbors.
it is. I'm
Yes.
gonna cut that out because I ruined it. When in
Oh
Rome,
man.
love thy neighbor. Yeah. But
Oh
yeah,
shit.
I mean,
Too
Malik
bad.
Nabers wins this for sure. Brian Thomas Jr. has some crazy upside here, but Neighbors is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you can't really compare these two. Neighbors is another level.
Hmm.
Just like his energy, activity, just like the grittiness of his game and
Hmm.
this ability to be an elite slot receiver and an elite out
Hmm.
wide receiver all at the same time. Whatever it was called to do, he was able to do it. So, but man, Brian Thomas Jr., baby, I
Hmm.
like this guy. I like him a lot, dude. I think that I think people are talking about him kind of as a role player, like a
Hmm.
downfield kind of guy, and I don't know, man. I think that fundamentals, he's very sound, like the great hands, good ball tracking, and he's got awareness, and I think he's got good toughness. So I thought there were like several catches on the boundary where he's able to like get both feet in and like get upfield quickly. So I
Mhm.
think the reason I like him so much is the the things he does in the first 3 to 5 steps after catching a ball. Like that's what separates Brian Thomas to me. He just like perfectly segues it into his elite speed. And I think he's going to be a beast at the next level. But all those traits put him to me as like that tier 3, right? Like
Mhm.
you've got, I think, I don't know what anyone's doing anymore, but I feel like you still got Marvin Harrison Jr. as the tier 1, and
Mhm.
then Roman Neighbors maybe are neighbors up at the tier 2. And then you got tier 3, which is your Brian Thomas Jr. And then that represents like the top half of the first round of the
Mhm.
NFL draft. So these guys, I think there's a huge gap behind him for the number 5 guy personally.
Yeah.
And I think he's underrated for his ability to catch touchdowns at every single place on the field. I ran the numbers. He had 17 touchdowns and led college football in receiving touchdowns. 6 of them were in the red zone. 6 of them were over 40 yards, like 80 yards in some cases. And then 5 of them were between 20 and 40 yards. So the distribution is perfectly spread throughout
Mhm.
the entire football field. This guy is an elite weapon, and his route running is very good, and I like him a lot. I don't know. Tell me more.
No, it's interesting because one of my first questions is I don't understand why he is the clear wide receiver 4. So it's interesting that we're pretty in lockstep usually, but I'm not necessarily on the same page. And maybe I'm not giving him enough credit for his route running, I think is the biggest thing, because that seems to be all the people that are pounding the table for Brian Thomas Jr. keep saying over and over again that his route running is better than people give him credit for. And maybe I'm one of those people because you are saying the same thing. So maybe I need to go back and watch. I just think like I keep hearing about how he's way more complete than all these other like deep threats that have come out, Jamison Williams, Christian Watson, like all these guys. And I just ask how so? Like how so 50 of his 68 catches were on hitches, goes, or crossers. It's kind of exactly what Christian Watson and Jamison Williams and all of them did. He's like the same size. Watson was 6'4", Thomas is 6'3", 209 pounds, 208 pounds. Watson ran a 4.36 as opposed to a 4.33. Like it's not, I don't think he's like such a tier above all these guys. Like I'm saying, I'm apparently not giving him enough credit for his route running. And then like I do think his drop rate has gotten better, but he still ended college with a 10% drop rate. So that's like right around what all these other guys with the same kind of complaint are, where there's these super fast deep threats that maybe don't consistently catch the ball. But I, I'm wrong a lot, and there is to me there's a gap. To me, it is Harrison and Neighbors, then Odunze, and then I think there's a pretty significant gap between the 4 and the 3 spot there. And then that to me, Brian Thomas Jr. is in that 4 conversation. Absolutely, 100%. The athletic prowess, this size and speed combination cannot be denied. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm not seeing it the same way as everybody else. This is one of those that maybe I'm missing because the league and the football world is heating up on Brian Thomas Jr. a lot, and I seem to be behind the pale a little bit.
I think that he's what every offense is looking for.
Mm,
And I don't know exactly how to defend his comparison against Jameson Williams other than, injury, right?
yeah, obviously.
And
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 a
then
little bit
Christian Watson,
bigger. Yeah.
small school,
Mm,
you didn't have that proven production in elite offense
that's
like you did
fair.
at
Yeah, it
LSU.
was North Dakota State as opposed to LSU is a pretty big difference.
But I mean, people were hyped about Jameson Williams, and who's to say if he had hit the ground healthy and made
Yeah.
that transition seamlessly that
Hmm.
he wouldn't have been. Now, if you had said something crazy about like, some other LSU wide receivers, who's that guy I was in love with all those years ago, was also a junior.
Oh,
That's gonna break my heart.
oh goodness. We've
Start with
been
the
doing this too many years.
Theodore. Anyway, yeah, the other LSU wideout. Damn, that's gonna break my heart. But we have done it too many years. He definitely had shades of that, but I don't know, man. I think you should rewatch this game. I think the route running is better than those other guys that were straight line kind of burners.
Okay.
He's got a lot of subtlety to his game, and I really do think he knows how to get open and pull it down the ball at the catch point. So he's not trying to just burn guys deep. His
Mhm.
ability to catch a ball with like good awareness in that moment, just like leading up to the catch and right after the catch, that's what really separates him for me. Just his ability to turn a catch into an elite play, even if he's not, even if he does have drops. I think that he separates himself on being able to produce above what you would anticipate for every given catch that he does make. That makes me excited about him. And I'm not saying that he's close to those neighbors in Odunze. There's a
Mhm.
big gap.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I think
There's another big gap
yeah.
after
Yeah,
him,
like
basically.
who's the number 5 in this class,
That's true. That's tough. You start.
Because if you can't answer that question, but you can tell me who number 4 is, then
That's fair.
then there's a gap and there's a
Well, I
difference.
think part of where we disagree there was I think I'm a little higher on Troy Franklin. So to me, they're kind of both in that like 4 and 5 conversation. Whereas I don't think you're as high on Troy Franklin as I am.
Because
Not
of the
that I'm like,
drops.
well, that's the same thing, I guess. Yeah.
I
Which
know,
I'm not
right?
like super,
So we
super
just
high. So-
you like green, I like purple. Shit happens,
must
man.
be. But
It's
yeah,
fine.
all right. Well, I will certainly do that. I will go back and kind of give Brian Thomas Jr. a little bit more digging, but it won't matter because he's not going to beat Malik Nabers. So we've got the 2
Never
seed
would.
Malik Nabers moving on and 3 seed Brian Thomas Jr. staying. So the representatives for the South Sweet 16 are going to be Jonathon Brooks, running back out of Texas, and Malik Nabers, wide receiver out of LSU. And just for your last little run through of the Sweet 16, next episode, we are going to have the Elite 8, which is going to be Rome Odunze versus Caleb Williams, Marvin Harrison Jr. versus Ramon Wilson, Rock Bowers versus Trey Benson, and Jonathon Brooks versus Malik Nabers. So we are getting into the thick of it. And I believe that's the last episode. Yes, we're going to do the Elite 8 and all the way up to the championship.
Yep, 7 total matchups, 8 total profiles, baby. It's going to be great. This is really balanced this year. It's 4 wideouts, a tight end, 1 quarterback, 2 quarterbacks, 1 quarterback, and 2 running backs. My initial count had
2 quarterbacks. Yeah.
JJ McCarthy in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is pumped. I'm pumped, dude. This is awesome. So,
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, we're heating up. We're gonna get this out. Then we're gonna give you guys a little mock draft, and then it's gonna be the actual NFL draft.
yeah,
It's gonna be
live
crazy
streaming it.
times.
So
we're gonna be live streaming it on the
don't go to
25th.
Buffalo Wild Wings. Just stick with us.
Stick with us. You can get cheaper beer, and you'll
Better
hear
wings.
us, which
I
is
don't know.
maybe a plus. I don't know.
Yeah,
Might
we're
be.
awesome. Tune in.
Please tune in. So, and for real, after you get the Sweet 16 online, please fill it out and send us in what you think, and also tell us what we did wrong. Tell us who should have been in the Sweet 16 that wasn't. Tell us who should have been in the tournament and wasn't. Tell us why
true.
Keon Coleman or Javon Baker or Jermaine Burton or any of those guys should have made it farther. We want to hear you. But until then, you've been Rough Draft Research. We've been the audience.
Uh-oh.
And we'll see you next time.
See ya.
I messed that up.
That's
It's
great,
all right.
man. Oh, that's funny.
I took a lease out on your heart.